Welcome to section 11.4, Speciation. In this section, we'll explore speciation, how new species form. Speciation explains how one ancestral species can split into two or more distinct species, driving the diversity of life on Earth. By the end of this section, you should be able to define what a species is and how scientists distinguish species, explain the two main pathways of speciation, allopatric and sympatric, and describe adaptive radiation, where one species diversifies into many. A species is a group of individuals that can interbreed and produce fertile offspring. If two groups can't produce fertile offspring, they are considered different species. Sometimes hybrids occur, like mules from horses and donkeys, but their infertility signals that the parent species are distinct. In nature, hybrid zones can show us speciation in progress. Speciation is the formation of two species from one original species. This requires that populations stop interbreeding and evolve independently. The two main ways this happens are allopatric speciation, which involves geographic separation, and sympatric speciation, which happens without physical barriers. In allopatric speciation, physical barriers such as rivers, mountains, or glaciers split populations, preventing gene flow. Once isolated, populations adapt to their unique environments and diverge. For example, the northern and Mexican spotted owls became distinct due to geographic and environmental differences following glaciation. For speciation to persist, populations must stay genetically isolated. Pre-zygotic barriers prevent mating or fertilization, such as differences in mating times, behaviors, or habitats. Post-zygotic barriers occur after fertilization, producing embryos that are non-viable or hybrids that are sterile. Both forms of isolation maintain species boundaries. Sympatric speciation happens without geographic barriers. Populations live in the same area but diverge due to genetic changes or ecological specialization. For instance, different plants in the same field may attract insects that pollinate only certain flowers, keeping their gene pools separate. Or, in the example shown here, a population of fish may split into two distinct populations, each adapted to thrive at different depths, resulting in separate gene pools. Sympatric speciation can occur through genetic changes, even when populations share the same physical space. There are two important genetic mechanisms illustrated here. Autopolyploidy occurs when an individual has more than two sets of chromosomes from a single species. For example, an error in cell division can double a plant's chromosome number, creating a tetraploid. Tetraploids are reproductively isolated because they can't produce fertile offspring with the original diploid plants. Allopolyploidy occurs when the chromosome sets come from two different species. Hybridization between species, followed by chromosome duplication, can create a new polyploid species that is reproductively isolated from both parent species. Both autopolyploidy and allopolyploidy can generate new species rapidly without geographic separation, making them powerful mechanisms of sympatric speciation, particularly common in plants, but also observed in some animals. A fascinating example of sympatric speciation comes from Lake Apayoque in Nicaragua. About 100 years ago, A single cichlid population colonized the lake. In that short time, they split into two groups with distinct diets and morphologies. Genetic evidence suggests they are diverging into separate species right now, an example of sympatric speciation in action. Adaptive radiation occurs when one species quickly diversifies into many new forms to take advantage of ecological opportunities. This often happens when new habitats open up or when species colonize isolated areas with many niches available. Two classic examples are Hawaiian honeycreepers, birds that evolved varied beak shapes to exploit different food sources, and Darwin's finches in the Galapagos, which adapted to diverse ecological niches on different islands. Both show how one ancestral species can diversify dramatically. Adaptive radiation is driven by factors like habitat diversity, which offers many niches, geographical isolation, which prevents gene flow, and natural selection, which favors traits that fit available resources. Together, these factors promote rapid diversification. Species are defined as populations whose members can interbreed and produce fertile offspring. New species arise through speciation, either allopatric, where physical barriers split populations, or sympatric, where divergence happens within the same location. Once separate, reproductive isolation, through mechanisms like timing of mating or genetic incompatibility, keeps species distinct. Sometimes a single ancestral species rapidly diversifies to fill multiple ecological niches, a process called adaptive radiation. Darwin's finches and Hawaiian honeycreepers are classic examples. Together, these processes explain how Earth's extraordinary biodiversity arises and persists over time.